The purpose of my research is to bring attention and awareness to the problem of underfunded public schools. Through my research, I hope to uncover more about why this problem exists and possible solutions that could solve it going forward. Some questions that I will be looking into throughout my research include what are the negative effects of underfunded schools on the children that are currently in attendance of those underfunded public schools. I also want to know what the long-term effects are of students that attend underfunded schools. Like, will this hurt them in the future? What are those offsets compared to those that go to properly funded schools with the proper resources? A third question I have is, how can we prevent this from happening? What needs to change in legislation and in funding in order to get the schools the proper funding that they needed? What other things can we do to, counteract, to balance out the lack of funding or lack of resources that the students have at their current schools? And my final question is there any possible way we can compensate or make up for the damage that has already been done in students that have left these schools that had low funding a while ago? My methods include analyzing data from the broader United States, as well as data taken in from Spartanburg, South Carolina. A lot of my personal research and field notes come from the North Side community of Spartanburg, South Carolina, so I'm interested to compare the racial equity index data from that of Spartanburg to the rest of the nation to see how poverty plays a role. I also will be looking at different literature from sociologists and anthropologists to learn about their work in underfunded public schools as well. Some theoretical approaches that I will be looking into include economic anthropology, structural functionalism, and conflict theory. I'm also interested in comparing the works of Ingalls and Marx to the current situation that I have seen in the north side of Spartanburg, South Carolina. I have honestly learned a lot from just reading different literature by other sociologists and anthropologists surrounding my topic. One thing that I have found particularly interesting is how housing discrimination plays a large role in whether or not a child will attend a properly funded or underfunded school. One thing that I also found about children that attend underfunded public schools is that they test significantly lower on state standardized tests. I have also found that children that, graduate and move on and go to a 4-year institution for a bachelor's degree tend to take much longer in order to complete their degree or just drop out altogether. It also puts them further behind because they don't have the necessary resources in order to continue their education and continue funding it at that level. I have also found that just blanket legislation by the federal or even state government does not properly cover all of the different specific needs of each individual school or even school district. And I'm very eager to learn more throughout my continued reading. So when continuing forward with my paper, I hope to compare my experiences in the Northside community with other findings of other scholars on a broader spectrum and just in other communities to show that there is a problem and there is a relation, not just between this underfunded school, but other ones across the nation, and that this is a problem that needs to be addressed. I also hope to compare my experiences and compare the experiences to other sociologists and anthropologists to the theories that I mentioned earlier that included economic anthropology, structural functionalism, and conflict theory, as well as comparing it to what Ingalls and Marx saw in the impoverished communities that they studied during the turn of the century and industrialization.